So today I made an interesting list of things, but this is an interesting video. But if I were to make the NASCAR schedule, this is an interesting what I did to the schedule and how it turns out. Excited to tell you. Obviously, I know that they can't switch the schedule, so I'm not saying I want this to happen for them to change it, because there's obviously contracts. There's other races at these tracks during the year. There's contracts, as I said, scheduling issues, even weather is involved. Like, you're not going to put Texas or Phoenix in the middle of the summer so that the drivers can heat up and freaking dehydrate. And you're not going to put Martinsville, the first race of the season, because it might get snowed out like it did in April this year, or March, or whenever it was. So obviously that's part of the planning of scheduling and when certain races are and when certain races aren't. This is a schedule I made. I tried my best to kind of do whenever it was. Obviously, to the weather and other things like that just get in the way of the scheduling. And so there were also a few things that I kept in place just because of, like, they've been there so long. It's just, it would basically be a crime if you were to move them. I kept the Daytona 500 on President's Day weekend, the Coca-Cola 600 on Memorial Day weekend, obviously the All-Star race right before that at Charlotte. I'll tell you about my idea for the All-Star race when we get there. And then the Indian, or not the Southern 500 Darlington, I kept that Labor Day weekend. And there were some things I kept the same, and there was a lot that got moved. But those are the three big ones that got kept the same. So, yeah, let's just start to go right into it. I did also write some times down for these races, and maybe if there was a night or non-night race, just due to, I like night races, so I threw a little more night races in there than I probably should have. But so you're just going to get right into the schedule. Daytona 500, first race, same time, same everything. Everything's the same for the 500. I'm not touching the 500 if I'm going to make the schedule. I wasn't going to mess with the 500, the 600, or the Southern 500, as I said. So I'm going to keep that there. The second race, Phoenix used to be the second race of the season. I moved that from the fourth race, which would be compared to the 2018 schedule. I'm comparing everything to the 2018 schedule. I moved Phoenix from the fourth race to the second race at a 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time start. I kept the first Vegas race. I kept that the same. Time, everything, all that, which is the third race of the season. Fourth was Auto Club. I moved that up, I think, one race. 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time start. Atlanta, I moved that from the second race back to the fifth race, and I have that starting at 2 o'clock Eastern. Martinsville, I have that 6. It's the same on the schedule, sixth race of the year. Noon Eastern Standard Time start, maybe 1 o'clock, depending on weather and just TV broadcasting, all that, how that would turn out. Talladega, the first Talladega race, I moved that up to the seventh race of the season. I'd have that starting in Route 1. The first night race of the year would be at Kansas. It would be the 8th race of the year. So I moved that up a little bit. By a little bit, I mean like a month maybe. I think it's a few races ahead. So that would be the first night race of the year. 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 6 o'clock in the Central Standard Time, which is where the race is. This one might surprise a lot of people, but I moved the Pocono race up. That's a good summer race, just due to the fact because it's the weather. It's up in the mountains and stuff. I went there in 2015, and it was really nice weather. It was like 70s, 80s. It was really nice there. So during the summer, so that's why they put that there. But I had this move up just to see how it would be earlier in the year. I think that would be interesting. Richmond, second night race of the year, 10th race of the season. Move that back a little bit. Same with Texas. The first Texas race will be a night race again, or it would be a night race again, 7 o'clock start time. Move that back a little bit. Dover, it would be back 1 week compared to its old starting spot. Still same time, all that. It's just 1 week later than it usually is. Then the All-Star race happens. So the All-Star race, I've heard this idea from someone else. I really like the idea, but I think they should. I like Charlotte. Charlotte's the home. Everyone can get there, all that stuff. But I honestly do think they should switch up the All-Star race a little bit. I like the package this year that they ran for the All-Star race. I don't think they should run it every single race every year, or not every single race you get my point. I think they should select maybe 5 tracks to run it at, like Indianapolis, one of the Poconos, one of the Michigans, and then one or two or three of the mile and a half, something like that. But I think they should switch up the location of the All-Star race because it's always been in Charlotte, yes, but I think that would kind of throw things up because everyone knows Charlotte and knows what to do for the All-Star race. But I think it'd be interesting if they kind of switched it up, maybe went to, I don't know, Watkins Glen or Indianapolis. If they did something special like that, that would be really cool if they did that. But obviously the timing, I think that would interfere with some of the Indianapolis 500 and the stuff. They do all that pre-stuff a couple weeks in advance, so they probably couldn't do it there. But they have scheduling all over the place, so that's probably why they do it at Charlotte all the time. But obviously right after that would be the Coca-Cola 600. Didn't touch it. Everything would be the same. Sonoma, I moved that up 2 or 3 races right after Charlotte. It's West Coast, so you'd have a 3 o'clock start time on the East Coast, which would be about 12 in Sonoma. And all this stuff never starts on time. It starts like 20 minutes late. I don't know. They say 12 o'clock because they want you to get on at 12 o'clock, and then they start at like 12:20, and it's a big mess. But I moved Chicago. I moved that up a couple races and turned it into a night race just because, or unless, I think it was already a night race. It might have been, I don't know. But I moved that to a couple weeks in advance and made that a night race. Michigan, the first Michigan, I moved that back, and that would be the 16th race of the year. And same time, same stuff, all that. And this is where I'd like some opinions about this, but I moved the first Bristol race all the way to the 17th race of the season. It's usually in April, but I have this in June or the first weekend in July. Night race, just to see how it would go. I think that'd be interesting, a midsummer Bristol race, because I did something with the second Bristol race that you might not expect. But that's the first 17 races, and going to move on to the NBC stuff now, where they switch from Fox to NBC. To kick off the second half of the season, I still have them going back to Daytona. The Coke Zero 400, I still have the same time for all that, same time slot, same place, same time, same weekend, all that, 4th of July, all the Murica 1776, We Are the Champs, Ricky Stenhouse stuff. America, 1776, we are the champs. Ricky's a legend for saying that. But I kept that the same. Next race, I flipped Kentucky and New Hampshire. That's not as big of a deal as moving Bristol to middle of summer. But I flipped New Hampshire's after Daytona instead of Kentucky. And then they would go to Kentucky for a night race. New Hampshire would be the same time. Kentucky would be the same time. It'd be a night race. Then they go to Pocono for the second time, which is the same weekend, same time slot, all that. I have the second Kansas race being in the regular season. So the second Kansas race is during the regular season. It's the 22nd race of the year. I have it not a night race, but a later starting time, just because if it's hot and stuff, because it'll transition into night if the race goes long enough. So probably a 4 o'clock start time in Kansas. 5 o'clock Eastern. Indianapolis, I have is the 23rd race of the season. Same, it usually starts around 2 o'clock. I'd have it start then. I moved it there just because, I don't like it being the cutoff race. I haven't even seen it happen yet, but I just don't like the idea of it. But, so I moved that up a little bit. I moved it back from what it used to be a little bit because that was like into July, and that was just, that sounds horrible. I think everyone will be surprised by this. Homestead won't be the finale in my schedule. I have Homestead being the 24th race this season just because it's been Homestead every year ever since whenever they were last at Atlanta doing it. I think they need to switch up the schedule because, you always know what's going to happen. It's going to be Homestead. It's going to be 1.5 mile oval. Nothing's really going to happen. It's going to be 4 guys racing on a normal 1.5 mile track for the championship. So that I think they should switch it up every few years if they can. Obviously, I don't know if they have the power. As I said, contract, scheduling, times, other series. But yeah, move that up a lot. And Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I have a mile and a half as the season finale, but it's at a bigger location. So you get my point. I don't want it at Homestead right now. If I make another schedule change, I'll make another one. Blah blah blah. But after that, Labor Day weekend, Darlington, 25th race of the season. Yeah. And then this will surprise you, the cutoff race. You may be wondering where this track was during the summer. It's always been in the summer, ever since I've been a NASCAR fan at least. I've been to one of the races there. I actually have some video if you ever want me to post videos of things past. This was before I knew I was going to make a YouTube channel, but Watkins Glen would be the cutoff race. Why, you may ask? Richmond was awesome. I actually liked watching Richmond cutoff races. Short track racing, I love short track racing. It's so fun. There's always passing going on. You can use lap traffic as picks. It's just great. I love it. I love short tracks. But they moved it this year, and the cutoff race is Indianapolis. And I think it would be interesting to see a road course as a cutoff race. Why not? I mean, that'd be really fun to watch, actually. Because what if someone like AJ Allmendinger, who's been doing 20th in points all year, ends up winning at Watkins Glen the last race to win his way into the chase and bump someone out? That would be dramatic. That would be pretty hectic. Some people might not agree and think it's stupid that a road racer can get in the last race. Well, if it's stupid that they can get in on the last race, why isn't it stupid that they can get in earlier in the regular season? So I think that would make things 2 times more interesting than it is now, but you never know. I think Indianapolis is going to be 2 times more than what it was worth now that it's a cutoff race. And then the chase. First round of the chase, Richmond, Texas, Dover. Richmond obviously bumped a week back, or bumped a week forward. I think it's the second race this year because it goes Vegas, Richmond, Roval, maybe? I don't know. But Richmond, I got as the opening race of the chase. I think that'd make an interesting, maybe mid-afternoon to into the night race. People would enjoy that as an opener. Maybe a Saturday night, but doubtful. They'd probably do a Sunday. Second race, I got Texas. It used to be the second to third. Okay, so it went Texas, Phoenix, Homestead, or ISM Raceway. So I moved Texas up a little bit earlier in the chase, just because why not? I liked it there. I like it at the end, but I think they should switch it up and put it at the beginning of the playoffs just to see how it does. And then the cutoff race, Dover. I like Dover as a cutoff race. I really do. It's Dover. It's unpredictable. You never know. And I moved so for the second round, you got Phoenix, the Roval at Charlotte, and Bristol. This is where I moved the second Bristol race. First, I'm going to talk about Phoenix. I do like Phoenix as a cutoff race, but, sometimes it gets a little crazy there. And I think if it was an opening round race, I think that'd be pretty interesting too. I debated this, whether to do Bristol as the opener or Phoenix, and I was like, Bristol's got to be an elimination race. That would just make everything 10 times more entertaining, honestly. Because if you're out of it, if you're like 70 points behind and you can't make it, and someone does a bump and run at the last lap, that would be so awesome. Man, that would just be incredible. I think fans would love that. But that's, yeah. And then the Roval, obviously, I do like the idea of having a road course in the playoffs. So the Roval gets thrown in there. And then Bristol, as I said, bump and run, all that stuff. I think that'd be an afternoon race probably, and maybe into night, I don't know. Now, I debated this to put Atlanta. I wanted to put Atlanta in, but then I was like, no, Atlanta's just another mile and a half. I debated keeping Kansas in. I was like, no, mile and a half. And I was like, you know what? Let's throw a 2 mile in there. So I threw in Michigan. The second Michigan race for the opening round playoff race in the final Eliminator 8, whatever crap you want to call it. I put it there. I thought maybe that could be interesting. Seeing one of the fastest tracks on NASCAR, where you go 219 miles an hour going into the turn, and just seeing how that would work. Obviously, Kyle Larson would love that. He wouldn't have any complaints. And then this is my favorite round because the next 2 tracks. Talladega would be the second race, so if you get screwed there, then that sucks for you. But if you survive there, you got a good shot. But then the elimination race, I like this. I think people would love this. Martinsville. Martinsville is the second to last race of the season as an elimination race. And not only that, but I have it as a night race. They installed lights there. Last year they made it afternoon going into night, but I think it just needs to be a night race. A night race, Martinsville, elimination race would honestly be the best thing I've watched in NASCAR since Jeff Gordon's 2014 season until Texas when he got Keselowski. But holy crap, that would be so awesome if they were to do a night race, elimination, Martinsville. That, I mean, what the action you could get out of that would be that would just be so awesome, honestly. That just because last year I think, other than Chase Elliott getting just ran over by Denny Hamlin, that Martinsville race was probably one of my favorite Martinsville races I've ever watched. Just the night part, because everything just got so much more intense and it was at night, and just everyone was all over the place, beating and banging, and just slamming into each other, wrecking each other, pushing each other out of the groove. And 2015 they decided to install it for 2017 because in 2015 Gordon's when it was almost dark, but I thought that was a very smart decision to add lights. The closeout race, I got Vegas number 2. Championship would be at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. As I was saying earlier, I didn't like the mile and a half at the finish, but I just didn't like that mile and a half. I think Vegas, it's got a bigger venue obviously than Homestead. Like, it's not a big joint name. The Miami part's kind of big, but Las Vegas, I think that could definitely pull in maybe some tourists, some people to that. I think you could honestly switch that with some other tracks, but I would definitely switch up the season finale. I would switch the Vegas with another date, switch them every few years and stuff just to see how that would work out. Maybe throw in Texas. You got to get places with a fan base, obviously, but I just felt like Vegas would be a pretty decent spot to actually have a closeout race. But that's all I have right now. The closeout race would be Vegas. Martinsville gets a new place. Michigan gets thrown in there. Bristol. And then the regular season's all messed up. Obviously, as I said, I know there's a bunch of scheduling issues that might not work. If you like my schedule, like the video, and tell me how you feel in the comments. If you didn't like it, tell me some of your adjustments. I'd love to read some of how you guys feel about if you were to make the schedule yourself and how that would work out. But yeah, I had fun making this video, and if you want me to make more like this, just comment below, as I said, and just tell me how you feel about schedules and if you were to make one yourself. So